Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another Books Weekly, my Sunday video for those of you who might be new to the channel, in which I discuss books that I've either finished from a previous week or read last week or started last week. And because there was no Books Weekly last Sunday, because I did a mid-year tops and flops freak out tag thing combination, the books I talked to you about today are 2 weeks worth of books, but I left out all the books that I reread, and I reread quite some books that I've already talked about in earlier videos, because you know how much I tend to babble and rant, and then we will be here till Monday, and we don't want that now, do we? So the first book I want to talk to you about is the book that I finished week and a half ago, and that is N.K. Jemisin, The Obelisk Gate. The book was published in 2016 and is the second book in her Broken Earth series. The first book was fifth season, and if you're following my channel for any length of time, you know I really loved that book. I thought it was very inventive, and I loved the world, the stillness, with people who can control the powers of the earth, so earthquakes, and the guardians who look after them, quote unquote, but are quite unsavory figures. The second book in the volume, in the series, is, I liked it, but I didn't love it. It had this, how can I put that, this hyphen book quality to it. You know, when you have a series and the first book, and then you have the last book, and in between is a hyphen, that's the second book. Like with The Matrix, you know, The Matrix Reloaded. It was just a sort of a stepping stone to the last installment. And that's a little bit how the book felt. I liked revisiting the characters. Esun, which is one of the main characters in the first season, comes back. She's one of the people with power. And her daughter Nasun, which she is looking for in the first book, gets quite a big role. Alabaster is in there again, also one of the people with magic, and Shafa, one of the guardians. So there is some plot development, but it felt like the book dragged on a while. So yeah, a hyphen book, an in-between book. But I'm proud of myself that I continued with the series, because you know how I am with series. I never continue them. And the last book in the series, The Stone Sky, will come out in August, and I have the best intentions to read it. The next book I want to talk to you about is a debut novel, and that is Emily Fridlund, The History of Wolves. It just came out a month ago, and I read this together with Conrad over at 7 Days at Sea, which was fantastic, not only because Conrad is really one of the best booktubers out there, but also because the discussion we had through email were really fantastic, and we both, you know, read the book slowly over the course of a couple of days, and then emailed with each other through the reading. So this was really great. Emily Fridlund is a young American writer born in Minnesota. This is her first novel, but she did publish a collection of short stories before. And I really liked the book. I ended up giving it 4 stars on Goodreads, but one extra star or half a star was because it's a debut novel, and I always think that you should judge a debut novel less harsh than you would if it's the second or the third or the fourth of an experienced writer. A History of Wolves is set in present-day Minnesota during wintertime, and it tells the story of Madeline, or Linda, a 14-year-old girl living with her parents in an, more or less an abandoned commune. Her parents were hippies and lived in the commune together with her, but all the other members of the commune left, so there's only Linda now with her parents. Linda tells us the story of that year when she's 14 from the perspective later. We learn early on that she is 37 when she tells us the story. But still, the feel of the book is that of a 14-year-old girl. There is a story that involves a teacher, a history teacher, Mr. Grierson, who then gets arrested and convicted for having child pornography. There's also a girl at school, Lily, in Linda's class, who claims that Mr. Grierson forced her to have sex with him. We don't know in the beginning whether this is true or not. But the main story centers around a young couple who move across the lake from where Linda lives into a summer house, although it's winter. But they built or bought this house and they move in there during the winter. And it's Patra, the young mother, she's 26, and the father, Leo, is 37, and the young boy, Paul, who is 4. Linda ends up babysitting Paul, and then various really, really horrible things happen. I really, really thought the writing was great. Emily Fridlund is certainly talented. She has a very unique voice. She can write not only that the sentences are good, but she can really present a scene. Not necessarily anything that has very much to do with the plot, but something that tells you a lot about the characters, especially Linda, but also the other characters. What I didn't enjoy that much was that I thought, as you often see in a debut novel, I think there was just too much in it, too many subplots, too many things that you felt, at least I felt, distracted from the main focus, from the main story. But then again, I am a very plot-oriented reader, and stuff like that bothers me. But if you like to read about a 14-year-old girl and what happens to her, but especially about her inner life, her loneliness, her trying to fit in, trying to belong, trying to have somebody to care for, then I would certainly recommend it. But, don't be too harsh if you are looking for a fast-paced plot, because that's not what the book provides. But I will certainly look out for any book that Emily Fridlund puts out later. And after I finished History of Wolves, I needed something that was very much plot-focused. Although I really liked History of Wolves, I wanted a fast-paced book that straightforward tells me a story. And I came across a video by Jen over at Reading with Pugs, a very, very lovely booktuber and friend of mine, although she doesn't do that many book videos anymore, unfortunately. She's now mainly focusing on coloring. So if you love coloring, you should certainly check her out. But she still does booktube videos now and again. And she did a book haul, and she recommended Sally Hepworth. Sally Hepworth is an Australian writer who just had a new book out, The Mother's Promise. That was the book that Jen hauled in her video. But an earlier book of hers published last year, The Things We Keep, the story sort of grabbed me more. So The Things We Keep is about Anna. Anna is 39 and she has young onset Alzheimer. That means the Alzheimer's disease, which is rare in younger people. So she has put herself into a care home, Rosalind House, and there we meet Luke, who also has dementia. He's in his early 40s. All the other residents are older people. There are 12 in total. And we have Eve Bennett, who starts at Rosalind House as the cook. She's a single mother after something happened with her husband, and she has a young daughter, Clementine, who is 10 or 10-ish. And the story is told from the perspective of Anna and Eve, the cook, and some chapters from Clementine's perspective. I thought it was a really lovely, just what I needed book. The story was very engaging, and especially the question that was raised in the book, the main focus is if you have a person with Alzheimer's, because if you are family, there's the brother of Anne and the caretakers, the nurses, and Anna engages in a relationship with Luke. How do you handle that? Is somebody with Alzheimer's still able to make choices like that by herself or by himself? How do you know as a caretaker or as a family member what a person with severe dementia really wants? What makes them happy? How do you deal with the fact that they don't remember from one day to the next what happened? And I thought that was really interesting and well done, and it's fast paced and well written, and it was at the time just what I needed. And the last book I want to talk to you about is the book that I'm reading at the moment, although it's a bit of a cheat because I didn't quite start it this week. I read it already last week, but I want to reread it because I'm so unsure and uncertain what I feel of it. So I will not tell you a lot, just what it's about, and I probably should mention which book I'm talking about, and that is Bleecker House by Nell Stevens. And talking about book pet peeves, I hate that when they do that. They get a blurb after the book was published, and then they just put this ugly sticker on the beautiful cover, and it wouldn't come off. Anyway, Nell Stevens is a young writer born in England, but she lived in New York also, and the book is not a novel, it's a memoir telling us her quest to write a novel. She tells us about a fellowship that she gets after an MFA program, and she decides it's 3 months, this fellowship, and she decides to spend it on Bleaker Island, which is a very isolated island, one of the Falkland Islands, in order to write a novel set on the Falklands. So the book is part memoir, the journey there and what happens on Bleaker Island, but also part of it is about novel writing. And like I said, I'm so unsure what I feel about it that I'm rereading it. So I will tell you what I think of the book in the next video. So this was it for this week's Books Weekly. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I don't have to say it, but I say it anyway. Talk to me down in the comments if you read any of the books or if you're interested in any of the books. And I see you all again in my next video. Bye-bye.